Hi everyone, welcome back to Demand Decoded. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. And I've got a really exciting guest on the podcast with me today, Ben Smith, who is Marketing Director at Reachdesk. So I met Ben a few months ago at a demand generation meetup in London, and I was fascinated by his career progression and journey at Reachdesk, and also some of the things they're championing and doing at Reachdesk to get such amazing results. In particular, their Allbound motion. In this podcast, Ben and I explore the Allbound methodology, looking at its benefits and the typical setup of an Allbound motion. We also cover the impact that Allbound has had on Reachdesk themselves, and particularly dive into the strategies they've used to smash their Q1 revenue targets by 110%. Let's get into the episode. Ben, one thing I find really interesting about you is your actual journey at Reachdesk and even before that, and your journey to marketing director, because it's really interesting how you've come from a predominantly sales background and now find yourself marketing director at Reachdesk and doing a great job.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So I used to be a professional ice skater. I toured with Disney on Ice for 5 years, went all around the world, I think 40 different countries. So it was a lot of travel and moving involved. But what I really loved about that role was that they allowed me to be a marketing coordinator whilst on the shows. So I was coordinating a lot of the time with the press and doing interviews. And I guess that was really my intro into what marketing could look like. Skip forward, after 5 years, moved to London, took a job as a PR intern, and I was doing direct mail campaigns. So really, my job was to be packaging up direct mail gifting, working with B2C brands in that instance and putting those campaigns together. So I knew I wanted to move into B2B and technology. And then I heard about Reachdesk, and I was the first employee at Reachdesk, but really struggled to get into the industry in B2B. And I don't have a degree, so that was something which always was going against me, if you like. And yeah, Reachdesk was a great opportunity. So it was myself as the first commercial hire, working with the founders. This was really, really early days, starting to set up the platform. I remember joining at that time, and it's just amazing to see how far Reachdesk has come in 5 years and where we're going. And I guess because I was wearing many hats, if you will, being that first employee, I was doing outbound business development. I was working with our customers, making sure they were successful. We didn't have a marketing function until a year and a half into my journey at Reachdesk. So I was writing a lot of the marketing content and creating that. Setting up HubSpot was our CRM and marketing automation. So I got a lot of exposure to early life startup wearing multiple hats. Then I went on to build the BDR function and our outbound motion, transitioned into our outbound and inbound motion, and then that's moved into our allbound motion. I guess that's where it made sense naturally for me to take on more of the responsibility of marketing, looking after everything from brand to demand gen to customer to events and partnerships. And really that whole pipeline number is what I'm responsible for now.
Yeah, it almost seemed like a bit of a natural gateway then. The fact you were already kind of working slightly on marketing, but especially on the direct mail side, going into Reachdesk, it's kind of like, you've already got a bit of knowledge, a bit of background around that. One thing you just said about only 1.5 years into Reachdesk was there any marketing function, and this is quite common, isn't it, in startups, to almost build that revenue for the first couple of years just off the back of kind of connections, like through the founders and things like that, and word of mouth and everything that happened there. Is that kind of what you saw at Reachdesk for that initial 1.5 years, that there wasn't much kind of outbound or demand gen or marketing involved really to actually get those first few customers off the ground?
I think most of what we did was outbound. Obviously, we needed to start creating a brand, and we needed to develop that side of the business. But Yeah, a lot of what we did was outbound. So my target as a BDR was 20 qualified opportunities every month. So that's 60 opportunities a quarter. And we were seeing a good close rate on those. So I think sourced revenue in my first year of being a BDR was around 2 million in source close one revenue. And that was purely from attending events, walking event floors, sharking, direct mail and gifting in a automated platform was quite new back then. It wasn't really something which a lot of people had heard of. There's not much competition in the space, and it was a big pain for people. So I think early traction at Reachdesk was great, and then once you start maturing as business, and we went through some more funding rounds, we were able to grow more of that inbound function as a result of it.
And I suppose now we'll land on Allbound, which I know you've been quite vocal about championing on LinkedIn. That I think even at Reachdesk you use Allbound quite a lot actually in your marketing and on your website and stuff, don't you? So we don't talk a lot about Allbound, outbound kind of stuff on Demand Decoded, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on actually, just to dive a bit deeper into this, because although it's maybe become more popular over the last kind of 12 months or so, more and more people are starting to talk about Allbound. I don't think most B2B marketers truly understand what it is, how it can be used. So can you just give us like a bit of an overview of what Allbound is and some of the kind of benefits behind it?
Yeah, I guess it's good to go back to kind of why we looked at implementing an all-bound motion and really pioneering that all-bound motion. And as you know, the market took a bit of a crash, and that became really, really hard. And we had to look at ways of moving from growth at all costs to profitability. And a part of that is you have to be really efficient with your spend, with your resources. And driving inbound and outbound was creating a lot of silos within the team. And when times are tough, the last thing you want to be doing is creating lanes for people and not allowing an opportunity for collaboration. So one of the things that we saw was, well, how can we make sure that we're becoming efficient? How can we encourage that cross-functional alignment? And what do we really care about here? And the things that we really cared about was our customers, the experience we were giving them, and revenue, whilst being conscious of our spend as well. So it's really expensive to have inbound, really expensive to have outbound, to have partnerships, to have a self-gen, and everyone doing their own thing. So aligning on an all-bound motion, which really focuses on inbound, outbound partnerships, fused together by revenue operations, and thinking about our customers as well, then that really helps us create alignment, and everyone is focused on the same things and working with each other to accomplish those goals.
In terms of, I want to kind of dive into the different components of Allbound. I think that was a super kind of definition overview of what Allbound is, bringing everything together under one roof, having one goal, which I think is so important now in B2B marketing, to have that unified goal of, let's face it, revenue, so that everybody has the same target, they're all working together towards the same goal.
Yeah.
The outbound part of Allbound is something, well, just outbound, I suppose, in general, actually, something that I have openly kind of not necessarily been against, but just not kind of been in a position to either get it to work, see how it works, or just understand really the benefits of outbound. How are you kind of using outbound at Reachdesk, like to almost hit buyers at the right time?
Yeah,
when they're kind of in market,
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, it's very cross-functional. I always bring it down to three things. It's the people, the process or strategy, and then the tools a bit. So number one is we have everyone aligned. Every BDR is aligned with an account executive, so they work really closely in pods. We have target accounts. And they're our best fitting accounts that, we keep improving that ICP and ideal customer profile based on new data we're able to support, new findings we're able to learn. And then it's the tools that you use as well, and they have to be integrated and they have to work, most importantly, to helping you achieve your end goals. So we use Sixth Sense as our intent tool, and that really helps us to be able to understand which accounts are at which part of the buyer journey. So which ones are coming onto our website, which ones are researching keywords, generic and branded, which ones are engaging with marketing activity. And then what we do is we enable the teams to be able to all understand which accounts they should be focusing on, where their time should be spent. And I think this is the part that people get wrong here, is they don't enable their teams to understand the intent or the signals, and more importantly, what they should do following that. So we really focus on that enablement part of, when you get an account which has moved into a marketing qualified account, you're still going to have to apply your outbound knowledge by going to look for the personas that we know struggle with the problems that we can help solve, and then create really compelling research. And we use a framework, sort of what's in it for me, as the framework there, what's in it for the prospect, and personalize that experience to them. And then what we see is, typically we found our conversion rates from those marketing qualified accounts to Disco Demo is our first stage in the sales pipeline. That's a much higher conversion rate than something which is not a qualified account. So again, improving those efficiencies there. But Outbound as a channel is just really focusing on your best fitting accounts, spending the resources and time to make sure that you can bring them in as opportunities. Because if you rely on inbound alone, what we find is that we're already too late to the party. Talking to our competitors, they already know of solutions which they might be looking to buy with, and we haven't had a conversation with them. So being able to highlight those different stages and create that awareness to our teams internally, it means that we're first at the party often and able to really give that great experience.
Some really, really interesting points you've made there, and I want to unpack quite a lot of that, actually. One of the first things you mentioned was about working in pods for Outbound, and I assume that's more of an Allbound thing, is it? I'm not sure. Like, what do you mean when you say working in pods? Is that referring to marketing and sales?
It's more the alignment between BDRs, sales, and we even have pods between sales and customer success. And what we're able to do is communicate a lot better with each other. So we're understanding, knowledge sharing, what's going on within those accounts. And I think a good example here is an account might go close lost because of timing, for example. But then what happens? So you're relying on marketing only to nurture that account. What we tend to find what works best is everyone is able to see within their pod, BDR, AE, what's happening with their accounts all the time, communicate with each other, work on game plans together. That might be that a nurture touch point is inviting them to an event that we've got coming up. Again, just so that we're top of mind. It might be that we're running a seasonal direct mail campaign, and they're going to make sure that it's sent out to the relevant contacts from that account which they've already had engaged. So pods alignment is really important to helping us make sure that there's a good alignment between all of the teams and all of the functions.
And yeah, that's great, and makes total sense. In terms of the tools, and obviously, you've name checked Sixth Sense there, which is cool. Intent data is a funny thing. Like, do you think that when somebody comes onto your website and goes onto the pricing page and everything like that, like, can we truly know if that actually means they are in market, or like, it seems to me like it's just hard to pinpoint where a buyer is on their journey, like, and a website page view isn't necessarily enough information for me to know that. Like, how do you see that?
I think it's really hard for a marketer to know that, but a salesperson can understand quite quickly, because they will typically have other knowledge of what's happening in the account as well, because they're working on a smaller number of accounts, and they're taking a really targeted approach to it. So they often are able to understand, I think, a lot more than than what we are as marketers, because we're thinking of a lot more accounts, and it's hard to have that visibility on the exact information that's happening within each of those. So I do think intent is really important, but again, it's how you're scoring that intent. One website visit to your pricing page from one person at 1,000+ person company, that's probably not great intent.
Yeah.
This be someone doing some research. You just don't know what that intent is, essentially. But if you can start building the pieces together of, these people have come to this event, they've come to these different pages, which then means that they might be that type of persona looking into our solution. There's keyword searches going on for certain keywords, which again helps you to think of the persona that might be researching problems or different solutions at that point. Then I think that's where intent is really important.
Yeah. When I first started looking into intent data, which to be honest was only maybe like 12 months ago, like when I was like, right, I actually need to understand intent data now and like actually know how the data is gathered and what kind of data points are being used. I was surprised to see so much on there. And can you talk a little bit about the kind of data points that you're using from intent data in order to see those in-market accounts, and like the way that you're scoring? Feel free not to dive into too much detail around your scoring models, but just, some of the signals that you are kind of honing in on would be useful.
Yeah, it's going to be different for every business. I would say, again, it just comes down to the keywords that you're using, branded and generic, and making sure that they're not super generic, because you want to make sure that a salesperson is able to understand, that is a problem. I know what to do with that signal, essentially, who to go and reach out to. So they're key ones. Definitely having high levels of intent pages on your website. So something I'm really excited about is we're using a tool called Novatic, which is self-guided demo tools. If somebody's going to take the time to click around and give themselves a demo, and I think that's a great signal that they're potentially interested in exploring the solution. Event attendance, whether that's we've sponsored an event or we've hosted our own event, or somebody's gone to meet somebody for a lunch, for example, that all builds into having greater visibility in what's happening in the account there. So I think there's lots of different intent signals that you can be tracking, but it's really what are the ones that you identify at your company that then help you move pipeline along further, or convert that pipeline, or it's hard to give a template answer, I guess, on what intent signals you should be focusing on, because it does vary from company to company. One of my favorite things that we're looking at the minute is part of our Allbound motion is the nearbound play. So we know that we have a 50% or higher win rate when there's 3 or more partners connected to an account. So basically that account is using similar tools or tools in a similar space to our ecosystem. That's a really good intent signal for us that we are now trying to build into our ICP as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many signals, isn't there? Like, it's almost, you've got endless possibilities of how you want to score them and use them in your business. Now, here's the clip, right? That would be interesting to get. Do you think you can do effective outbound sales without intent data?
I believe so, yes, because we didn't have intent data before. I think it's just really inefficient without having that intent data. Because without the intent data, you can understand your ideal customer profile, but you don't have visibility into where they are in their journey. So you're not able to tailor your content, you're not able to tailor the experiences, you're not able to personalize at scale without having good intent data, in my opinion.
Interesting. And when it comes to having those in-market accounts, so you've got loads of signals coming in through intent data, whatever CRM you're using has populated this data to show this account is in your ICP, the intent is there. When it comes to reaching out to these people, then through whatever means. Actually, it'd be interesting to know what means they are. Do you get any kind of like pushback on that, or like what's the response like? Because I've been of the opinion of like, look, until somebody wants to like reach out to you directly and declare their intent, it's literally pointless in even trying to reach out to them. They don't want to talk to you, but I am happy to be proved wrong here.
Yeah, and I think that's where sometimes people miss opportunities, to be quite honest, because they might reach out to one of your competitors and have a conversation with them because they're just simply not aware of you. If you're trying to build a brand in a new market or new territory, and you don't have great brand awareness there, then it's a dangerous game, I think, to be relying on just inbound alone. You need to be educating people a lot earlier and helping them be aware that you're there to help them solve a problem, especially when intent data helps you discover that they could be facing a problem. So I think it has to be a blend of inbound and outbound to really make sure that you're capitalizing on every opportunity that you can.
But like in terms of that response that you get, so you reach out to them. I mean, which channels, firstly, do you like are the primary ones to reach out to an in-market account? Email, I'm assuming.
We truly use multi-channel. So that's everything from calling, emailing, LinkedIn, inviting them to our events. One of my favorite plays is if we've got an in-market account that we're trying to convert, let's invite them to our next event. So we've got an event happening this summer. It's boats and CMOs. So we're really targeting those accounts which are in the consideration, decision, purchase stages and inviting them to the events. Now, we're having some exec outreach for that, which is, again, another voice, another person, and just really helps echo, how important it is that customer means to us and helping us get awareness within that account as well. We use direct mail and gifting, obviously, as a part of that channel. So we've got a barbecue at the event as part of the follow-up. We will potentially be sending out barbecue kits to people that we really want to give that great experience to. So I think it has to be multi-channel, and I think that's where account-based marketing strategies is quite aligned with this as well and comes into play for helping achieve those goals.
Yeah, and I assume, the win rate of those contacts that you have been working like on, that you have invited to events, that have had positive intent signals there, the win rate of those compared to like cold accounts is going to be astronomically bigger, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we saw the change with our all-round strategy, where BDR win rates were down considerably. Gave it 6 to 9 months of working our all-round motion, and those win rates jumped by 160%. And 60%
Wow.
of revenue was coming from BDRs again. So it's amazing the transformation that we've seen over. It took a long time to get there, and you often do see a dip in the pipeline whilst you're working these things out. But the sustainable future now, I'm really excited for.
Yeah, do you think that's kind of like been the natural evolution of Outbound then, like the introduction of intent data, specific account targeting, rather than just the kind of like, willy-nilly go after kind of anybody in your CRM that's got an email address attached to them? Seems like the natural kind of evolution that's happened, right?
Yeah, people don't want spam. People don't want to be bombarded. If I get a lot of emails, especially now I've moved into this role, I get a lot of people reaching out to me, and I think it's actually been really helpful and interesting for me to see what it's like from the other side now. Because for so many years I was that person just, trying to reach out to a lot of people and get some conversations started. And the things which really resonate with me is human connection, first of all. So it never needs to normally start with a business conversation, just that research into how well do they know me, and then what problems am I facing right now. They're the two important things that I really care about. Spammy marketing just doesn't work. Nobody wants to receive it. The conversions are very, very low, and it's just outdated. And I think taking a really targeted approach and doing outbound and marketing well means that you're not adding to that noise. And I think as a marketer, we would all prefer for everyone not to be creating as much noise, so that when we are reaching out, it's intentional, meaningful, and super relevant.
Yeah. So do you think when you're armed with that intent data and you understand the account a little bit more, it's seen less as spam?
I believe so, yes, because you've had a person doing the research and trying to make a genuine, compelling reason why this is relevant for them and their business. And, you don't always get the research right, but I much prefer somebody at least trying to understand, and I'm more open to then giving a bit more insight into what's actually happening and giving them an opportunity to help me out, because I want to be helped out at the end of the day. I think that's where we get ahead in our careers and we really do well for the business, is when we're constantly searching for people and tools and solutions that can help us do better.
Yeah. And I think I would be, much more open to I suppose it's still a cold email, right? From a salesperson after I'd been researching on like G2 and then their website and things like that. It's like, funny. I was just looking at you from a marketing perspective. I would know, like, yeah, they're using intent data. Of course, they know who I am. But even that, it's like, okay, they have a bit more of a reason to reach out to me rather than just aimlessly spamming me for no reason when they don't know if I even have the slightest hint of being in market to buy that solution. So yeah, I think I'm on the same page with that, to be honest.
And the last thing I want to be is a MQL to someone. That really just doesn't give a great experience. Walking around an event floor and people just continuously trying to scan your badge, and you know that you're going to get a spam email that isn't personalized, even if you've had a conversation with somebody from that stand and from that company. You know that you're just going to go back into a system that's going to have a generic follow-up. I'd much prefer to walk around, and if I'm interested in something, to then book a meeting right there and then, and progress it forwards with that person that I've met, or the right person within the company, which they can then directly intro me into. I just think we need to do a lot better when it comes to the way that we think about marketing and collecting data and intent and leads, etc.
Yeah, I think that's one of my pet peeves, the event badge scanning thing. I don't know if you saw on LinkedIn actually, last week. I think Sarah actually shared this picture. Can't remember what event it was, or even the company, to be honest. But I think there was a prize basically, and they had a badge scanner set up at this table where basically you could just go along, put your badge in, and it would scan it for you in order to enter a prize draw or to literally get something back out. And it's like, wow, is this really like what marketing has come to? Literally, like just a race to get as many badge scanners as possible, a race to get as many contact details. It doesn't matter if we've had a qualified conversation with them or anything. It's just volume, 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 and that's the game they were playing. And I think they would see some pretty shocking conversion rates on that.
Yeah, I think so too. And what a nightmare it is uploading all those leads anyway.
Oh my god, that poor RevOps person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like the Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever admin is going to have an absolute nightmare with those. Okay, I feel like we've covered outbound quite well. Even like I've got a good understanding now, I feel, of like how it can be utilized more effectively, like how intent data can be utilized as part of that, and probably the importance that plays in identifying accounts. Can we talk a bit about Reachdesk's inbound model and specifically like marketing? Because what I find interesting is how you've almost kind of led with outbound. And now, yeah, I'm interested to know the kind of things you're working on in order to drive more inbound demo requests, like some of the main things that have been working for you guys on that.
Yeah, so the inbound part of it, I guess, is split into our digital efforts and then our event efforts. So digital is split into creation and then conversion, and then events encompasses kind of everything really, because events are important, they're expensive, and we need to be making sure that we're getting the right people there, the right conversations, and then the right results off the back of it. So inbound for us, I'm really looking at our digital channels and how they're performing, and then also our events part of our strategy.
And in terms of those digital channels, like which ones are you leveraging most? Like, I see you guys pretty active on LinkedIn, assuming that's a primary channel for you guys, given the audience.
Yeah, definitely. LinkedIn, we run our digital ads on Google. We run digital ads on other channels, typical digital marketing there. And then for events, we bucket it into roundtables, trade shows, our account-based marketing experience events like the boat show or the revenue that I was just talking about. Partner events, how do we partner with people in our ecosystem and work with them to drive that event engagement. So that's the two ways that we typically break it up into, I think. And then we think about the content that we're doing. Is it to create awareness and consideration? Is it more to capture people that are in those decision and purchase stages? And remarketing. It's so expensive to acquire someone's attention. Really think about how we use remarketing to make sure that the people that are aware, that we're then driving them to be able to come through that inbound channel. And one of the biggest changes that we saw with our inbound channel is that when somebody does come onto our website and they want to book a meeting and speak to a salesperson, which typically happens, 84% into the buyer journey, then a calendar pops up and they can book time directly with the person that is working their account already, who is in the right segment to be able to service them properly, and is working in the industries that customer is working in, so that the salesperson has better knowledge of that specific industry as well. And we've seen that we're able to generate pipeline a lot earlier because that converts a lot earlier, and people don't feel like they're having to be discovered before having to talk to a salesperson and see a demo of Reachdesk, essentially.
Yeah, I am all for having those meeting links directly on the website. When I first came to Blend, something like we introduced straight away increased the actual request for, I suppose ours is basically talk to sales pretty much, it's a consultation type thing, to actual a contacted and a meeting booked by up to 50%. It was really, really great, and something I would recommend everybody do. I noticed you hide it behind a form as well, which is something that I also like to do. I know this is getting quite tactical now, but yeah, it's just something I see on so many websites where they have this direct calendar embed on their book a demo page or whatever. And I just think adding that form in gives you that extra layer of structure. It gives you the ability to qualify that person further, and it actually adds in a bit of friction. And removing all friction is a bad thing. Having some friction in there that allows somebody to actually qualify themselves and put a bit more effort into this kind of relationship that you're trying to build with them is quite a good thing. Bit of a tangent there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of the fields that we have on that demo request form that's really important for us is the specific use case that they're looking at, because what that allows us to do is prepare in advance without having to do a longer discovery, because we already know kind of what's top of mind for them, and we're able to then think about what we might want to show them in the platform, what questions we might need to ask them, and it just allows us to get into better discovery and better questioning a lot earlier.
Yeah. And also rewinding back to your point on remarketing and I suppose digital retargeting, again, another thing that is just so underutilized. It's almost like businesses and marketers see that kind of brand awareness, top of funnel play. It's almost a bit of a sexier thing to do. It's oh, let's go and talk to all these new people and get our message out there, into the market in front of these people that don't know about us. But you're literally forgetting you have a website there that's got thousands of like monthly views, and let's say like 98%, 99% of those are not converting like on your demo or anything, and they're just going into the void. But like, yeah, retargeting has been something that I've kind of always been passionate about, like, because why would you go through all of the effort of trying to attract those people to your website and then they just go into the void, and like they will probably just forget about you, when retargeting can help prevent that.
Exactly. Absolutely. And then you get a BDR working it as well. And wow.
Well, here we go. So yeah. So you've got all the goods on that, see?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're important customers.
Yeah, that is, I mean, you've basically just acknowledged the all-bound motion there, which I failed to do. Like, my mind went straight to marketing, like, okay, so somebody comes to your website, then how do we use like LinkedIn retargeting in order to get back in front of them? I think, what you've acknowledged there is so important and great, which is that all-bound model. That is literally inbound. Yeah, not outbound. I mean, you could then, so somebody comes to your website, you've then got inbound marketing working for you because they came there somehow anyway, through an inbound channel, retargeting working for you, outbound marketing potentially through a gift or something like that. You've got outbound sales working for you there. And then ultimately they convert on the demo request, inbound sales. There you go. Is that a good summary?
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you attribute it to, because you've got the opportunity to create a new business opportunity. And where it's broken down into and who's had an influence on it. So what does it matter where you're attributing it to at the end of the day, as long as you're building pipeline?
Yeah, love that. And in terms of, again, rewinding back to some of the marketing stuff you've been doing around like content creation and things like that, where are some of the areas you're investing most in? Like, have you started podcasting yet? Like, what kind of content are you looking to create and seeing, like the kind of things, channels, mediums, things that are kind of resonating with your audience?
Yeah, definitely. So we have just hired Kinga, who is coming in as our content and community hire. So it's really important that we focus on content, and we're just about to do a big project on this. So I won't reveal too much, but yes, we do have a podcast called The Antidote. Alex Ollie, our CRO, is the host of it, and we launch that we post that every 2 weeks. And then we have all forms of different content. So more to come on our content strategy, but watch this space.
Wow, and community potentially, by the sounds of things.
Absolutely, yeah. Communities are important to us, whether that's with our partners, with our customers, or with potential prospects. And it's important that we're not going to be able to do everything all at once, but what we are able to do is think about a wider strategy and how community is brought into that, and who we have in the room or on the right channels, essentially.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So I just want to bring something up, which you posted on LinkedIn about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months almost now, which is great. And it stuck with me, which is why I instantly knew to go back and find it. So your post kind of outlined your Q1 success, which is amazing, by the way. So yeah, congratulations on that. So Reachdesk, smashed your Q1 revenue goals by 110%, which is crazy, right? And I just want to dive into a couple of these points that you made on the post. One being 60% of new business revenue came from BDRs. I'm assuming that is outbound, right? That is your outbound motion working right there. 60% of new business coming from outbound.
Yeah, so 60% of our new business last quarter came from our BDR function, which is, if we didn't have that BDR function, then we would have 60% less, arguably, revenue than what we did. So it's been a journey with it, changing it from what it was to what it is today, getting them to focus on the right accounts and understanding what they look like, improving our ICP, educating them on running more discovery and feeling confident with that, targeting the right personas and understanding the different buying committees within an account and how that changes from enterprise to mid-market to commercial. But ultimately, through that journey, what we've seen is our win rates have increased dramatically, and we're able to get to decision makers far more effectively than what we were able to do before. And again, that's because they're working with their account executives, so they're not feeling like they're siloed and alone and having to do all of this on their own, but actually working with an AE to help them with discovery and to help them with account mapping and making sure that that we're able to even ramp BDRs faster, for example. These are all things that have led to us being able to get to what was achieved last quarter.
Yeah, it is quite incredible. Like, maybe I should stop the slander on Outbound altogether, like clearly. And I don't think it's just you guys at Reachdesk. Like, fundamentally, in most SaaS businesses, there is an outbound motion. It does drive revenue. It's just the vast majority of them are so inefficient that the ROI on outbound is actually so poor. They drive revenue, but at a awful efficiency level.
Yeah, and I think that's why our targets for outbound, they're not crazy high. I mean, I told you earlier that my target when I joined was 20 qualified opportunities, but they're reduced a lot more to what they were 5 years ago. And the reason is because we're really focusing on that quality aspect. So number one, can we convert things earlier than relying on just inbound to do it? Which yes, we know we're able to. And then are we able to have conversations with the right persona quicker, which means that we're able to influence our sales acceleration, close deals quicker? Are we able to multi-thread so that it's not just one person we're getting on that first call, but we're able to get 3-4 people on? And we know that our win rates significantly improve when we do that as well. So all of these things that are really challenging to do with inbound marketing, when you layer that outbound approach on, then it helps you win overall.
I would be interested to know, and you might not know this off the top of your head, don't need exact figures, but the conversion rate difference between those accounts that you go to outbound. And it was interesting because you just mentioned how typically you can get to them faster through outbound than if they came inbound. So the conversion rate between those that you go to outbound and those that come inbound convert on the Reachdesk demo request page.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty similar.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite similar now. It used to be dramatically different. Inbound was always a lot higher, and outbound was a little bit lower. But we've kind of found it to balance out to be the same now. We've got a tighter qualification matrix, and I think that might be a reason why it's led to that, because we're only truly working opportunities where there's a line of sight to be able to close them, having a compelling event, etc. And I think that's probably where it's a little bit similar now. But the metric for me that really stands out is from marketing qualified account to disco demo, which is qualified opportunity. That's around 75%. So that is higher than if it's being inbound or something which isn't yet a qualified account.
So sorry, just on that, what is a marketing qualified account in your definition?
So for us, a marketing qualified account is a certain intent score, and it's within our ICP. Essentially, that's it on a simple scale.
Yeah. So you've noticed this company has come onto your website, shown all of these good things, like good fit, boom, sales, do your thing.
Yeah, get it into their hands, get them to understand that intent, and then find the right people, right message, right time, and then we typically see that they convert at a higher rate than something which isn't qualified, a qualified account, marketing qualified, or is an account which is an ICP account, which might BDR might go and outreach to.
Yeah, love it. I think it's just the hyper like focus on those in market and those good fit accounts, that sounds like that is what makes the difference between poor outbound conversion and good, and almost on level with inbound conversion, you know, which is crazy. And clearly that hyper focus and targeting like is what most businesses are missing.
Yeah, and it takes a while to get there, which is why
Yeah.
you can't expect this to happen overnight, but give it 6, 9, 12 months, and I truly believe that your business will see a huge change.
Yeah. Okay. The other point in this LinkedIn post, by the way, was how your CPO, assuming you mean cost per opportunity on that, has been lower than ever. Can you share like a few of the things that you've done to reduce that cost per opportunity?
Yeah, I think again it comes into that all-bound approach. So capturing opportunities a lot earlier, working the same accounts as what sales is working, really looking at where we're spending our money. And we've got a lot of data to know where the channels which are expensive and don't convert as much or as much, and then we know where we should be allocating our budget. Sarah on my team, she owns digital marketing. She does a great job of being able to pull the levers and work out where to put the budget. And I think it depends a lot of time on seasonality and what's happening during that year. So yeah, it's just kept getting better and better, which is exciting.
Yeah, I suppose when you're converting more of those, opportunities, bigger value, things like that, just making everything more efficiency will naturally bring down that more efficient will naturally bring down that cost per opportunity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I think the last point I want to make, which is also on your LinkedIn post, is just, I think, honing in on this point around getting everybody brought into the same goal, like having marketing and sales unite on revenue. Like it couldn't be, it sounds so simple actually when I say it like that. And I feel like I'm doing it a disservice by saying, yeah, just unite on revenue, yeah, just literally look at the same thing. But like, it is just so not that easy, is it?
No, and our CRO and founder, he does a great job of this. So myself as the marketing director reports into the CRO, our sales director reports into the CRO, and that's it really. And then we have great alignment on our go-to-market function with our head of customer experience, so that we're also thinking about our customers and everything that we do. And most importantly, everyone is tied to a commission component, which is focused on revenue as well. So whether that's partnerships, sales, marketing, customer success, everyone is tied to the goal of revenue and are rewarded for when they achieve that.
Well, that is very refreshing, I think, as well. And I don't think many businesses are doing that in terms of comp and like for anybody outside of sales, really.
Yeah, and that can be a problem because that's where you get friction, I believe, and people don't feel like they're able to work towards the same goals.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay, well, so obviously, like you've had such a great Q1. Q2 has almost come to an end, which I'm sure you've probably smashed as well. What are some of the like main things that you're planning on doing, have done, are kind of betting on to get even better revenue results for Q2, Q3, Q4 this year?
Yeah, things that I'm really thinking about is our nurture strategy. Again, as much as the work we do on digital to make sure that we're retargeting, our nurture is just so important. So we're looking into our nurture strategies, our event strategy. Really, I'm gonna say it again, but our boats and CMO event, so excited for 150 marketers, marketing leaders down the Thames, doing roundtables, having a barbecue, having some drinks, networking, socializing. It's going to be a very fun evening. And then we're really looking at our optimization. So website optimization, how do we improve that? So lots going on, and we're a small and lean marketing team, but but the team do some incredible work. So very excited for the rest of this quarter.
Yeah, awesome. And was going to wrap things up, but like I just want to dive into one more thing that you mentioned, the nurture strategy. When you say nurture, do you mean like email nurture, or is there more to nurture from your perspective? Because that's where my mind went.
Yeah, email's a component of it.
Yeah.
But, no, it's the BDR outreach to as part of our nurture strategy. It's the events that we want to invite people to. It's how we engage with them on socials and through communities. It's a lot more that goes into it. We want to make sure that we're top of mind for when people have a problem, or even better, create raving fans early. So if somebody in their network has a problem, then they're educated and we're top of mind for them to intro us into. And I think that's where the dark social really comes into it. And it's hard to track and measure, but by doing these right things, then it's really important.
Yeah, and you see the natural lift in revenue and everything off the back of that anyway. So yeah, not everything needs a direct attribution, like to be directly attributed, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
fascinating. Cool. Well, Ben, this has been really fascinating. Like I literally have like 3 pages of notes here where like I feel like I've just learned so much about inbound, outbound, and yeah, how they can be used. So thank you so much for coming on. That's been awesome.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.